session of physics, we were discussing on the concept of force. There we considered the example of a car and we studied the excitation where what happens to the car when one person is pushing the car from backside and how the car moves. So when two persons or three persons are pushing the car, it will tend to move forward. The force applied by one person may not be sufficient in order to move the car. Similarly, if at all two persons, two group of people, maybe 2 to 3 persons from either side of the car, if they are applying the force, then also the force will be balanced by both the cases and hence the car remains to be in the state of rest. And we also considered the example of the tug of war game. Yes, no children? Both the teams will be trying to pull the rope and other team as well towards them. So these are the example which we studied. This session we shall discuss whether the force which is applied on the body or which is acting on the body, will it change the state of motion of the body? Will the force change the state of motion of a body? What do you mean by this word state of motion, children? So, you will be studying about the Newton's laws of motion. There, Newton stated his first law as, if at all the body is remaining in the state of rest, it continues to be in the state of rest, and if at all it is moving with some velocity, uniform velocity, it continues to move in the same velocity unless an external force acts on it. So what does he mean by this, children? Now consider the example of a chair. Now the chair at your home remains to be in the same state unless you go apply force, lift it and displace it. Means you are changing the position of the chair. It remains to be in the state of rest. Best example is, consider the example of a toy car. Now toy car, I will place it on the floor. Now will it start to move on itself? No. Unless I apply force and move it in any one of the direction, the toy car does not move. So what this means, it continues to be in the state of rest unless some force is acted upon it. Similarly, if at all on the smooth floor, on the mosaic floor, if you consider, I will just give a push to the toy car. I will give it some acceleration so that it keeps on moving. It will. So frictionless plane, best example. So you know any car, toy car or any thing for that sake, if you give it a push, it will go up to some distance and come to rest. Why is it coming to rest? Because there is frictional force present between that surface of the material as well as the floor. Now if I am able to stand on the floor, means there is frictional force present between my feet and the floor. Hence I am able to stand, or else we would have skid and fallen down. So if I am able to write on the board now, means there is frictional force present between this chalk and the board, which is enabling me to write on the board. So like this, children, frictional force is very, very important and it has very important role to play in our life. Similarly, so why am I telling all this is, as when we give a push to the toy car, it goes up to some distance and comes to rest. Yes, no? Why is it coming to rest? It is because of the frictional force. Frictional force between the wheels of the car and the floor on which you are making it to move is making the car to come to the state of rest. Similarly, children, so what I do is, I don't want the car to come to the state of rest. I want it to move continuously, means I will consider a frictionless plane. Frictionless plane means I don't want the friction to be present there. If no friction is there, nothing can stop the car. The toy car continues to move in the same direction. So frictionless plane. So on a frictionless plane, if you just give a little push to the car from this direction, in this direction, then it continues to move. How long it will go? As long as you apply some force and stop the car at this point, it continues to be moving. It continues to be moving, children. If I give my hand, toy car, no, I can stop it with my hand. So if I give I'm applying force. I'm giving my hand in between like this to stop the moving car. Means I'm applying force on the car. Hence it came to rest. This was a frictionless plane. Hence the car does not come to rest or stop on its own. So I am applying force on the toy car in order to make it to come to rest. So before the car was here. Before the car was here, children. It was at rest. It does not started to move on its own. What I did is I gave a push here. I am giving a push means I am applying force here. The car is here. I am giving it a push. I am moving it in this direction. So in the same direction the car will start to move. As I said you, this is a frictionless plane. The car will not come to rest on its own. So at this end what I am doing again? I am applying force in order to stop the car. So two cases. Unless and until you apply force, the body does not move in general. Here car. Unless and until you apply force, the body which is moving with uniform velocity does not come to rest. It continues to move with same velocity. So, why did we consider this example as children? Here, on application of force, we change the state of motion of the body, isn't it? How means? Say, change in the state of motion. There are two states of motion. First state is state of rest. Second state is state of motion. Either the body should be at rest or it should keep on moving. There are only two possibilities. So, whether the force I am applying can change the state, can change its state of rest. Yes, it can change. I did know. I applied the force. The toy car which was at rest started to move. So, the force which I applied changed the state of rest of the car to changes to the state of motion. It started moving. Similarly, can the force which I applied change the state of motion of body? Yes, of course it did. The car was continuously moving on the frictionless plane. I applied the force from the state of motion. The car stopped now. The car came to the state of rest. Hence, I am changing the force which I have applied. Change the state of rest as well as the state of motion of the body. That is what the concept was. Change in state of motion. Can the force which you are applying on the body change the state of motion of the body was the concept. And the answer we got, yes, it can change. One more concept is, can the force which you are applying not only changing the state of rest or state of motion of the body, but can it increase or decrease the speed of the body? Yes, of course it can. Best example is you driving the vehicle. Yes, no? When you will be moving with some speed. If you give the accelerator to the vehicle, yes, it starts moving with high speed. In case of car, if you change the gear and press the accelerator, yes, you can go with say high speed. Yes, no? If at all you want to reduce the speed also, you can. In case of vehicle, what you apply the brake in order to, or stop applying stop giving the accelerator or apply the brake in order to change from to change the state of motion of the vehicle from moving to come to rest. Similarly, in case of car, what you do? You apply the brake in order to decrease the speed of the vehicle. So, the force acting on it, children, can change the state of motion of the body. You need not mention state of rest and state of motion. State of motion and a word baradrene. Inside that only both state of rest and state of motion will be explained. So, the force applied, the external force applied. So, whatever force we are applying, children, it is called external force. It is not internal force. Internal force is also there, that you will be studying in higher classes. For now, whenever we mention the term force, it means external force. I am applying externally. Yes, no? In case of this toy car, children, I am applying the force from outside of the car, so it started to move, external force. In case of the chair which is at rest, I am applying the force externally and moving it, means external force. So we are talking about external force here. The force applied on the body can change the state of rest as well as change the state of motion of the body. And the force applied can even increase or decrease the speed of the chair. This is what comes under the concept change in the state of motion, children. So let us soon go through your textbook once.